Merhaba and welcome to NBP Hotseat. This is Akkuyu. Today we travel to Turkey, an emerging country in nuclear energy, and it's part of our continuing series to profile the Turkish nuclear market. In previous episodes, we had spoken with officials from NUTED, a TSO, and also with the Nuclear Regulatory Authority, with Dr. Anil Bulme. Now today we'll go down the education route, and we have with us Dr. Şule Ergün, who is the associate professor from the nuclear engineering department in Hacettepe University. Now, previously, Dr. Ergün was also the acting head of the radiation protection department. Dr. Ergün, welcome to NBP Hotseat. We are fantastic and glad to have you here with us.
It is my pleasure to be on the hot seat, and I really like talking about nuclear. So I thank you very, very much for inviting me to your event. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Ergün, perhaps we can start off first by you telling me a little bit about yourself, about your background, and how you got started in the nuclear sector. Dr. Ergün, please.
Sure. I always wanted to be a nuclear engineer since I'm a young kid in the secondary school. At that time, a Chernobyl accident happened. All around the world, this accident was discussed in detail, and I was following up the news. And I was thinking, and I was understanding that nuclear power is very important to humanity. It is beautiful, it is strong, it is reliable, but it should be safe. So at those times, I decided to be a nuclear engineer, and I decided to work on nuclear safety, later on radiation protection. So this was basically an accident, Chernobyl accident, giving me the motivation to be in the nuclear sector. And at that time, there was no serious attempt in Turkey for having a nuclear power plant. And I graduated, and I worked at my university as a research assistant, completed my Master of Science degree. Then I went to US. I got my PhD degree from Pennsylvania State University, Nuclear Engineering Department. And in year 2006, I came back to Turkey. And I saw that everything got matured. All the systems are almost ready to have a nuclear power plant, and government wanted to have nuclear power plants in Turkey as well. So I thought that it is time to be in the nuclear field, to be in Turkey and in academia, giving education, training, performing research, and also I work with governmental institutions such as you mentioned, with NRA in the radiation protection department. I was working with Ministry of Energy for several projects. I've been involved with companies. The topics that I worked on mostly was human resources development and also the localization of the industry. So I had several projects throughout this journey.
Fantastic. And it's very interesting that the Chernobyl accident actually allowed you to enter the nuclear sector. And this is something also interesting is what we are seeing. Of course, this current conflict that we are seeing going on has actually made people or countries start to realize the importance of nuclear energy. And ironically, now more and more countries are looking to embrace nuclear energy than before. But in your case, Dr. Sunil, you entered a sector when at that time there was no nuclear power plants in operation in Turkey. There was no Akkuyu, there was no Sinop, there was no talks of a third possible site. So, I guess the Turkey really benefited from having you and also Chernobyl to cause you to enter the nuclear sector. And now, over the past few years, you have been contributing very actively to the nuclear development in Turkey. And, which brings me nicely to my next point, because you have also, as you mentioned earlier, been contributing actively in the areas of human resource development. Now, I'm curious to learn, does Turkey actually have a human resource strategy for its nuclear power program, Dr. Ergün?
In Turkey, it's like early 60s, 1960s, the education and research studies started in nuclear engineering field in Istanbul Technical University. Then our department was established to give undergraduate education for nuclear engineering program. And in Turkey, we were familiar with human resources development, but a strategy report was prepared in, I think it was the year 2013 14, 15, I mean, it was just revised, etc. And by the Ministry of Energy, a strategy report was prepared for research, for human resources development, and for localization. And under the part of this human resources development strategy, we concentrated on two things. One is the quantity. The second one is the quality. All right. I mean, maybe I should say skills or experience required, language skills, motor skills, the training, on-the-job training and experience required. And we have listed at that time for this strategy, listed the organizations that are going to play a role in the sector. And when you think about the organizations when it comes to nuclear, you have to worry about, for example, the governmental organization who is going to conduct, for example, evacuation if it is required. I mean, we think in that detail. We thought about Ministry of, for example, Environment. They are going to require to do something. Research institutions, the regulatory body, the technical support organization. And also, if you are going to have localization in the country for industry, industry should have some sort of skilled personnel. So we all worked on all these items. We listed all the government organizations, we listed all the private organizations, and we started looking at how many Turkish people can play a role in that. So then after that, we started to look for how to attract people from other industries to nuclear, because there are industries such as the other energy stations, other power plants, for example. Can you attract those people? Or there are people that are experienced in localization, but in other sectors. So how we can move? And we started to find out how many people are existing like that. So it was like a huge work. And for example, as a part of this work, Ministry of Energy, we offered this, and Ministry of Energy accepted it. And Ministry of Energy got an agreement with Ministry of Education. And we started a program for governmental organizations to send students from the different fields that are required in nuclear field to abroad, to other universities in the world, and offer them internship opportunities in the countries that have nuclear power. Many of students they went to UK, US, France, Russia. Some went to Germany, for example, and this is also was performed for academia as well. So we sent Turkish students to abroad for PhD. So this program is going on. First graduates of Master of Science came back to Turkey, for example, to NRA, for example, to Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, and also research organizations as well. The purpose was there to make them, get education in nuclear field, and also generate a network for further human resources development. So I think it is a program which is not very bad. I think it's going good. We made a lot of how can I say, Master of Science graduates to our organizations. And in Turkey, there is also the workers of nuclear power plant, but Akkuyu is taking care of it. The personnel who is going to work in Akkuyu nuclear power plant they are getting their education and training at Russia. So they are learning Russian. They are getting familiar with the technology that is going to be applied, and they get there to get undergraduate degrees, but also University of St. Petersburg, they accept university graduates as well to train them to work at Akkuyu nuclear power plant. So, I mean, the strategy was developed, then it is applied already. So we started seeing the results of applying the strategy now.
Fantastic. No, it seems like Turkey right from the start had a very well thought out approach and strategy for its human resource development, and sending of your students abroad. I think this is a very good and also often practiced approach by many countries, which are planning for nuclear power, to send their students abroad. But of course, one big challenge sometimes is that the students might not come back.
Sure.
And,
Sure. And that is understandable.
Correct.
That is understandable.
But I guess,
However,
but I guess hopefully the majority of the students that you have invested to go abroad will actually be able to come back and contribute, to the development of your nuclear sector. So I guess, a lot.
May I just add something?
Yes.
They are funded by the government.
Yes.
So if they want to be free, and if they want to be doing something else than coming back to Turkey, they have to pay for that investment.
Correct.
So,
Correct. So they
it is fair.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So they must hopefully be getting a job which pays them much more then so that they can break this bond. But I guess this is the same for any industry. When you send your students abroad, there will always be some attrition. But I guess this goes to my next question, is on the attractive features of the nuclear industry, right? How is Turkey actually attracting young people to study nuclear engineering, for example, and join the nuclear sector? I mean, let's look at your university, Hacettepe University, and your nuclear engineering faculty. Every year for the enrollment, are you currently being oversubscribed or undersubscribed? How are you attracting people to come to study nuclear engineering at Hacettepe University?
In Hacettepe University, I mean, this department was existing. I mean, if I have to talk about Hacettepe University, this department was existing before any nuclear program was started. So was initiated. So I mean, if you are a nuclear engineer, you learn many things and you get many different skills. So our graduates never had faced the job insecurity in Turkey, and most of them went abroad. Such as me, I went there, but I didn't stay. I came back. But many of my friends, colleagues stayed in the US mostly, and in different countries. So there was never a job security issue when it comes to being a nuclear engineer in Turkey. So we don't have to promote our departments, to be honest with you. We didn't have to. And in countries like Turkey, where you have a lot of young people, job security is very attractive. And also this program we offered by the Ministry of Education gives the promise of job security. You are going to come back and you are going to be working at a very prestigious government company. You're going to be organization, and you're going to be government employee. So that's why this worked. I mean, big promotions were not required, to be honest.
And actually, one interesting fact that many people do not know is actually people working in the nuclear industry are actually very highly skilled professionals. And often at times, the salary or the remuneration for people working in the nuclear sector is quite I would say, above average, because it's a very highly skilled a sector, right? So this is something which is quite attractive also.
I mean, you know what? For this SINO project, where we were performing the feasibility analysis, I've been involved, and I've been involved in the localization and human resources development part in that feasibility project. And in that one, we worked on what the Z generation asking for. What are they asking for? And Y generation, because generation Y and generation Z, I should say. And we checked that they don't give too much importance to salary.
Wow.
They mostly want to work at an organization that organization must be in parallel thinking with them. For example, in environmental issues or generating a difference kind of a thing. And they are looking for strong leaders.
Yes.
They are looking for, it is hard for nuclear, but they are looking for working hours that are flexible. And they want to be free a little bit in the work environment. Then comes the salary. So, I mean, these are scientific studies we went through. So nuclear sector must be careful about their requirements. Because aging in the sector, it was faced by many countries, and it is like being faced right now. If you have an old, worker group, then you have to worry about it, because experience must be passed through the generations. So I mean, but in Turkey, mostly the job security was the reason for youngsters to be in this sector.
Correct. So I guess people are now looking at the whole package, right? Not just salary, like work culture, work-life balance, and as you mentioned, Are we working for an organization that believes in something? So I guess in nuclear sector, I guess we all believe that nuclear has an important role to play in achieving or combating climate change and achieving net zero. And I think many young people I am seeing increasingly are also realizing that, that climate change, nuclear can play an important role in climate change. And another interesting thing about human resource development that we often don't think about is that not all jobs in the nuclear sector are technical in nature, right? Because when you start a nuclear power program, there are jobs required, for example, the project management, financing,
Right.
human resource development, and it's not just about nuclear engineering. So I'm not sure whether Turkey has got some sort of approach to attracting people to join the nuclear sector itself, not just for the operating of the power plant and all that, but the the whole nuclear sector in general, which I think is also important also.
Correct. There are finance people required, for example,
Yes.
as you mentioned, project management,
Yes.
law.
Yes, legal, yes.
It is very important. I mean, people that are working in the field of law, especially for the regulatory body, for example. For example, when we worked on this human resources development with Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources, we realized that we require a lot of translators. Of the Russian. I mean, if it is English, it's okay. But if it is Russian, we require really translators that know something with the technical terms as well. I mean, we had to train translators for that. So yes, you are right. Public relations, very important.
Yes.
Very important. I mean, it's not just to make people support nuclear, but give information, what's going on, describing and being transparent how to do it, because we engineers, these people know how to talk. So basically, as I was mentioning to you, the ministry especially look for professionals in other sectors and invite them to nuclear sector. This is true for journalists as well. Many areas that you can think of, and that's why nuclear field is beautiful.
Yeah.
From anthropology to space science, you require everyone almost in this field. So especially when it comes to radiation, it's a huge area with a lot of issues. So it was just checked and organized by the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources at that time, attract good professionals in the issues of nuclear.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I guess moving on now, just looking into nuclear engineering itself. I mean, as you mentioned, you were a student in nuclear engineering. I mean, from bachelor's to master's, and then now you are teaching, contributing back. How have you seen lessons or curriculum evolving over the years? Do you see more technology being infused, or are things still status quo? How has nuclear engineering education evolved over the years, Dr. Ergün, and how do you see it evolving even further?
Nuclear engineering education is tough. It is tough. I mean, it is tough everywhere in the world. When I was in the US, I was a teaching assistant. So I was very close with undergraduate students. And I was seeing that they were similar to us back in Turkey, working very hard, very diverse subjects, heavy maths, and also you have to learn issues with quantum mechanics, but also you have to be familiar with Newtonian mechanics as well. So it's a wide range of things to learn. It is not easy. And when it comes to nuclear, using technology, develop technology tools, simulators, computer codes, or going into radiation lab, radiation measurement lab, or heat transfer, it is not going to change. Okay, I mean, classical way is going to stay. However, the simulators with rather better human machine interface, they are being helpful to us. But we still ask our students to write their own programs instead of using already prepared packages, because we have to make sure that they know what's going on behind it.
Correct.
So in our education, what is special to our education in Hacettepe universities, I believe, is the project courses. we have, starting from the second year, we have project courses. So they learn how to make literature survey, how to discuss with the professors about the project starting from the second year. They write their own computer codes, they work on different issues on applications, and eventually they have graduation projects based on designing reactors mostly. Yeah, we use the technology, the applications, simulators, or research reactors. They go to the research reactors for experiments and etc. But we still keep some parts that are classical to education as well in our program.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I mean, that's really, really great to know, Dr. Ergün. Now, I guess looking ahead, I think one thing good about the Turkish nuclear power program is, while now, you are working on Akkuyu, there's plans for sign up, and eventually a third site, might happen. It keeps the momentum going. It makes it easier, like I was mentioning earlier, to tell people like, hey, there's a long future for the nuclear sector in Turkey, because not just Akkuyu, we have this project coming up, there's this project coming up, and eventually, that apart from just Turkey, some of your students after a while, or people working in the Turkish nuclear industry, might want to explore other opportunities abroad, because as you know, many other countries are also starting nuclear power program. So it's a very promising outlook for the nuclear sector, not just in Turkey but in globally, and in terms of human resource development, it's a much more positive environment than some decades ago. And of course, with this in mind, do you still think that, or do you feel that there are some more opportunities that Turkey can exploit for the nuclear power program to make it even more successful? I mean, it is already going well, I would say, but in terms of human resource development, especially, can it get even better, in your opinion, Dr. Ergün?
Yeah, I mean, it is not, my answer is not going to be a surprising one for you, because I am from a university. But when we decided to have this interview, I was thinking about how to make this sentence. But if you are an embarking country, if you are like underdeveloped, developed, or developing, having nuclear power plants to have reliable, safe, cheap electricity, nuclear power plants, and clean, of course, and it is a very good choice. And you start selecting a technology, then it's a huge project. It's a years taking, huge, expensive project, etc. And you get worried about training, education. We mentioned about this, localization, emergency preparedness, radiation, the 19 issues published by IAEA, and then you start forgetting one important thing. It's research. I think learning about it is good, but you have to think about further, okay? And I think what is lacking in Turkey, to be honest with you, is to support funding support, and also planning, a huge planning that is related with research. Okay, research and development. You can have electricity from nuclear. Somebody can operate it for you. You can make it safe. You can have a great regulatory body with very good skilled people, and you're doing it perfect. But research must be supported as well, because nuclear energy is not just nuclear power plants. It is used in many fields, and it is going to be used in many fields that we cannot imagine. So I think it's a very little bit forward look, but take a look at what Bill Gates is doing now. Okay. Take a look at the TerraPower, traveling wave reactor. I mean, I think those are, I don't say that a newcomer should be like that, but still investment for research, even very basic ones, is required. I think in Turkey, this is what we are lacking. When I was here, when I came back from United States as a young professor, excited, having a huge network in US, and I could have done better research.
Yeah. So
and what I was doing was I was working on the human resources development. I was working on localization, and we did a great job in localization. I mean, we established an event. Maybe you heard of it, International Nuclear Power Plant Summit. I was the first chair chairwoman of the event. I was heading that event for 4 years. We have met many companies, maybe hundreds of companies involved with the event, meeting with Akkuyu, etc. So but when I get back and look back, I see that I wish I could have the chance to have funding for my research as well. So that is lacked. And for newcomers, I insist and I beg, please reserve some funding. I know it looks like it's luxurious, so it's not related because technology is already developed and we are paying for it. But no, research should support it.
Precisely. And no, I guess, with regards to funding, I guess this is a very interesting thing that I see, or common issue that I see happening. And sometimes it has to do with the government sector, not just in Turkey, but anywhere. When
Correct.
things in general, most projects, when it is being driven by the government or taxpayers' money, things move slower. But when things are being done by the private sector, it moves faster. I mean, if you look at our sister industry, the fusion sector, as you know, if you're familiar with fusion, now you see companies like General Fusion and many other companies, they have private investments and they seem to be moving much more faster.
So I mean, it's everybody's money now.
Precisely, everything needs money right now, right? And perhaps, to move forward nuclear research in Turkey, perhaps we should be engaging with the private sector, maybe create a private institute or a joint thing. Perhaps, I don't know, I'm just throwing out some ideas, but I fully agree with you that research is very important because we need to not just think for now, but for the future, and and to have future success, it has to start now with R&D, and I think that's a very, very important point. Dr. Ergün, this brings me to my last question. I know obviously you seem like someone who's really passionate about nuclear engineering. In fact, I'm not being gender biased, but it's refreshing to have more conversations, with like emerging countries who have got established and very qualified women like yourself, spearheading this sector. So I guess what keeps you going, Dr. Ergün? Like what keeps motivating you to be part of this industry and to, more importantly, contribute to the industry?
You know what? Being in the nuclear field makes you the citizen of the world, not the citizen of Turkey, not the citizen of another country, but that makes you the global citizen. And this is a very small sector. We have only 450 something nuclear reactors. We have research reactors, we have research industries, but we are still a small community, and we are attached to each other with strong bonds. If we make a mistake, that is going to affect the sector.
Yes.
So what I like with nuclear is this, it makes you a global citizen. It makes you thinking about your responsibilities about other countries as well, other emerging countries, other people that require electricity, and I really like the safety culture that is established in, just thinking about safety first. I really like that idea. What motivates me in nuclear is also that high technology. It is, and every single person in the world deserves this one. Deserves the opportunities that are promised by nuclear power plants and nuclear energy. So that is basically motivating me. When I'm doing something good, I am doing for many people other than my country as well.
Wonderful. Dr. Ergün, I sincerely hope that you will be able to inspire more young people to follow the path that you have taken and contribute very actively to this sector. So once again, Dr. Ergün, thank you very much for being on NBP Hotseat. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It wasn't hot at all. It was very fun to be here. I was a little bit scared when call it hot, but no, it is very nice to be here. Wonderful. And I'm glad to meet you as well. And thanks for your questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Ergün. And to all our viewers, please feel free to leave your comments and feedback in the comment box below. And do subscribe to our channel if you would like to gain more insights from global nuclear leaders such as Dr. Ergün. Stay tuned for our next NBP Hotseat. Agunash, and see you next time.